Peace. This is A and B, African man born on the Culture Speaks, a true hip hop podcast for those who live it. Let's get into it.
I am hip-hop culture, predator the vultures. Rappers getting high, spitting lines, I be sober. Never need an entourage, partner who holds us down when I come around. Massachusetts soul child, say me in your masu. Knowledge will surpass you. Silly rap crews, walking shady as they move. I am the God man, I be living in the proof. I be teaching all the youth on the elements they use. Turn the television off, all the government is plotting on our sons, and we disrespect our daughters as we living in the slums, and we stay.
Peace. This is A and B, African man born on the Culture Speaks, a true hip hop podcast for those who live it.
Make decisions like a grown man and plan my future up for the unity to take it over. Gather everyone. This is who I am as I'm representing hip hop. I will take a stand while I'm representing hip hop. Gotta be my best as I'm representing hip hop. God in the flesh as I'm representing hip hop. This is who I am as I'm representing hip hop. I will take a stand while I'm representing hip hop. Gotta be my best as I'm representing hip hop. God in the flesh as I'm representing hip hop.
Peace. This is A and B, African man born on the Culture Speaks, a true hip hop podcast for those who live it. All right, so this episode, right, we're gonna talk about ageism in hip hop. Ageism in hip hop, very brief subject. All right, the reason why I talk about ageism in hip hop is because it is common nowadays where you have a lot of young cats that feel like rappers over the age of 30 and 40 should not be rapping. They think they should pass it on to the young cats, and they should fall back. Nobody's checking for them. Nobody's looking at older rap artists. I say this, that is far from the truth, and that's also just an ignorant way of looking at things. Rock and roll doesn't practice ageism. R&B doesn't practice ageism. Poetry doesn't practice ageism. You know what I'm saying? Blues, instrumental artists, they don't have a certain age that they do this shit to and they stop. You see what I'm saying? So when you talk about ageism in hip hop is foolish. That is an industry ploy so they can control young rap artists with doing the stuff that they're doing now. As you can see, if you're watching the audio podcast, if you're watching the visual art podcast, you see what's going on even with the divisiveness that they're using in hip hop, right? So the BET Awards was a couple of nights ago, and it shows a bunch of women that won the awards. I don't have a problem with women winning awards. What I do have a problem is the type of women that are winning the awards based on the control of the music industry. This is why there's ageism in hip hop. Ageism in hip hop and sexism in hip hop is running rampant nowadays because hip hop as a industry, as a musical genre, has been distorted since the 1980s. Now, mind you, the music has been in the industry since the late 1970s with Sugar Hill Gang, Rapper's Delight, right? Curtis Blow, you know what I mean? Then you move on later, you have Run DMC, right? Move on later, you have LL Cool J, you have T La Rock. Move on, you have Slick Rick, Dougie Fresh. You had JJ Fad, you have Roxanne Shante, the real Roxanne. You had UTFO, you had Funky 4+1, you had the Cold Crush Brothers. You see what I'm saying? You have all of these different groups that pioneered the culture. You know what I mean? As far as the culture in the music industry. Matter of fact, I even give you some jewels like this. If you watch Hip Hop Evolution, I think it's Hip Hop Evolution on Netflix, you will see that the older artists like Melly Mel, Grandmaster Caz didn't like the fact that Run DMC came out and changed the wardrobe of what hip hop was. But to me, I think it was the best thing for hip hop to change it to give us our identity. Because back in the 60s and 70s, when we talk about style, fashion, culture, and how things looked before everybody else jumped into hip hop, right? We was doing that. We was creating the styles. All right. The last episode I talked about how they're trying to divide us with the racial aspect of who started hip hop. We all know that hip hop is a black culture. You know what I'm saying? It is a black culture. The music industry took it over and made it a tool to make money. But in order for them to make money, they had to control it. So when you look at what hip hop is doing now they're saying that the women are running the culture. The women ain't running the culture. The women are being used to run the culture. And you can tell by the type of women that are winning the awards. Then they put some troll shit on there. If you look at it and read it, it says that, you know, where the fellas at? Where you at, fellas? So pretty much they're trolling men because they haven't won awards over the sisters this year. Now, mind you, let's just be clear about this. This is not a disrespect to our sisters, because if you really was running the culture, sisters, then you would have a variety of different sisters up there. You're not running the culture. You're being ran to push the agenda and claim it as culture. You have the Megan Thee Stallions. You have Sexy Red. You have... Shit, I don't even know the name of a lot of these sisters, to be honest with you. But look at the images that they're pushing. And look what they put. And then they try to troll men like men haven't been winning in hip-hop since the 80s. You kidding me? You know what I mean? You don't have a future... You don't have a rendition of MC Light or a new version or just a new period MC period that has bars that keeps her clothes on. You know the sisters you should be pushing? There's a sister from the Nation of Islam. I think her name is Naima or something like that. You should be pushing her. You should be pushing Cyrock, who is the dopest female lyricist out right now. Hands down, Cyrock. You know what I'm saying? You should be pushing Rhapsody a lot more. Rhapsody's in the industry, but she's not being pushed as much as a Megan Thee Stallion. And I'm not knocking any of these sisters that are on. But what I'm saying is, look at what you're doing. And then you create divisive content to keep the older artists, the smarter artists, the ones that are not being controlled down. The reason why they say that nobody's checking for older artists is because they don't want older artists to take over the helm of bringing wisdom, experience, truth, justice, balance to the game, whether they male or female. Right? This is why I segue back into the ageism. Older rappers know better. Older MCs know better. You're not choosing older MCs, not because nobody's checking for them. It's because you don't want them to change the frequency of what you're on. You have an agenda. And a lot of you young cats that say, oh, nobody's checking for no one, you sound like an old rapper, old nigga. All this other disrespectful stuff that you say, just understand something. The OGs are the ones that give you the wisdom to move forward.
What do you think of music around today, especially things like hip-hop and Run DMC and the Beastie Boys?
Well, those are poor copies, well, not poor copies, but they're copies of what they thought I was doing in the 60s, like Let the Brother Rap. And see, I started the rap music, and what they're doing is things I did years ago. But see, rap music is kind of a variation, it's like the end of a James Brown song, what we would do at the very end.
You actually worked with quite a big rap hip-hop star, African Bambaataa Unity.
We did a fantastic message about nuclear war, stuff about unity and not using nuclear war stuff. And that's what it was about. It was a message to the people, to the world leaders, you know, to trying to refrain on the nuclear stuff, because nuclear stuff could be good to extend life, but we don't want it to take life with nuclear war. So that was the reason behind it, not so much as trying to get a hit.
You know what I'm saying? So you should be trying to bridge the gaps to see, but you think that the money is more important. And guess what? A lot of you young cats ain't making money like that. A lot of y'all are working jobs to pay for your careers. A lot of y'all are working at TikTok and doing certain things on Facebook, which is dope in its own self. You make an income without the traditional job. I'm all for it. What I'm not for is you disrespecting the ones that did the traditional work to get to the point where now, you know, the future is benefiting from it. You know what I mean? And it's funny that people, they talk about people are too old to rap, but you can't rap better than the people that you're saying they're too old in. So therefore, if them dudes got the ability to kick bars, Let them kick bars. I don't care if they've been doing it for a long time. I've been doing this for about 30 years. I'm too old to rap because I'm 45. That's foolish. And then you get mad at people like Killer Mike who just won a BET Award for Best Rap Artist, right? Last year you got mad. Well, I think it was it was around last year or the end of last year or early this year. You got mad at Killer Mike and you said, oh, who the fuck knows Killer Mike? You know what I'm saying? You don't know 3 songs from Killer Mike. You're full of shit. What you got to understand about the Grammys and all of these the clubs, and you pay into it. So the delegates of those clubs, they voted for Killer Mike to win. But honestly, let's just be honest. Killer Mike has better music than 90% of the new cats out there. So therefore, he deserves to win. Now, that might say, oh, you just put him because you old. Oh, well, I listened to this album. It's dope. It's better than listening to what's on the radio. And matter of fact, if you listen to the radio, they're not even playing a lot of y'all music because y'all music is not being paid for by the industry. Y'all get put on by payola. So you're saying that nobody's checking for older rappers, but really payola is the reason why a lot of rappers, young and old, do not get on. It costs about 250 grand or 200,000 to get one song placed on the radio. That's payola. Who are you giving that money to? Because the record labels are tied with the radio stations and the media and the videos and the MTVs, the BETs, the VH1s, all of that shit is tied to the same system that charges for those services, which is why record labels charge so much when you go and you sign a record deal. They're tied to all of those different media sources to get your music out. So they say you got to invest in yourself. Yeah, but you're not going to get on to the point where these engines are pushing the ignorance. Correct me if I'm wrong. Why is it that even the artists that are underground that sound like these artists, right, that are out there, like the Lil Durks and all of them, that try to sound like them or sound like them, how come they're not put on? They sound like them. Because there's money. Every major artist that led the game from from old times had to have finances put into them so they can music can move across the states and most people that do it on their own don't have that foundation to get their music pushed because they don't have the money to pay somebody to get their music pushed across the country. It's a budget, and that's why a lot of artists that don't pay that off, if you don't pay that off, if you don't pay that money back, every cent of your advance back, then they either drop you, they give you more money to try to make it up on the next album, and then they eventually drop you. They're not gonna look for older artists who know the game, so the older artists are spitting the game just like I am. They're gonna tell you like, yo, they're not checking for older artists. They're gonna say things like that. They're gonna say old artists need to fucking quit. You got T-Pain saying, I don't even know if he said it, but the media said that he said that guys over 35 should just give it up. Nobody's checking for older rappers. But ain't T-Pain like 35 years old? I think he is. I think he's thinking like 35 years old. Yeah, but he already made it. That doesn't make a difference. If he's over a certain age, but he's a singer, no, you can't. Listen, art is art. That's what it is. Hip-hop, rap music, it is art at the end of the day. Whether you like it or not, whether you agree that it's art or not, it is art. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't agree with the art because the rapper's older or because you think it's not your speed, that does not mean, you know what I'm saying, that they don't have a voice to lead in this music art form and culture. We have to do it differently. Ageism in hip-hop is bad because you can't bridge gaps when you have ageism. You can't bridge gaps. The guys that are 40 and 30, they're not old, they're grown. So they're going to have a different perspective on things, especially musically. Young cats, you have your perspective. You can do it. You can do what you do. Let the old cats do what they do and get their fans and get their public attention. But don't say that nobody's checking for them. Just because you're not checking for them doesn't mean nobody's checking for them. You see what I'm saying? We have to end the ageism and to bridge the gaps in hip hop in order for this culture to move forward. You see that they're pushing racial division by way of Puerto Ricans and blacks and Jamaicans and all this other stuff, which I talked about heavily on the last episode, right? Now they're talking about ageism. They've been talked about ageism. People say, oh, you're too old to rap. You're not too old to rap. You're not too old to MC, because really, Nas and Wu-Tang and these guys are selling out shows still to this day after 30 years. 50's still selling out shows. Eminem's still selling out shows. Jay-Z can sell out shows if he's still going out there. You know what I mean? He just did, what do you call it? He did what's the shit? For Tom Brady. He did a celebration for Tom Brady getting inducted into the Patriots Hall of Fame. And people was listening, they was watching. So therefore, you know what I mean? Hip hop, good music is good music, and the old school pretty much run it. That's who's really running it. But what happens is the industry that you see now is ran by a bunch of white men and white women who are lawyers and accountants that only care about the dollar. So they're gonna push anything that will destroy their dollar. Older rappers are bad bargaining chips for them. You can't bargain with an old ass rapper. You can't bargain with an older MC. And I don't mean to say old ass rapper, because I actually fit in that category, right? But if you get if you say, I'm gonna give African Man Born a record deal. African Man Born got a lawyer. I got a manager and a lawyer, right? And that contract is gonna be freaking checked out and all that shit before we even think about signing some shit. And even if I see something, because I went to school for business management, right? It's not going down like that. But for a young rapper who came from the gutter, that don't really know much about contracts and they need fucking guidance and shit, and they don't have it, you can give them those 360 deals. You're not giving me a 360 deal. I'm not gonna sign the 360 deal. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm glad for Griselda. Griselda, they on point, man. They out there, and then they putting their peoples on. These guys are in their 40s. So when you say ageism is just that aspect of the mind that allows you to disrespect older MCs, so you can block out the wisdom that comes from the elders, or that comes from the grown, that blocks them out. And then the young cats are they're fending for themselves, and they're signing deals that don't benefit them, and they think because they're showing and flashing money, no, they're actually, some of them are living like check to check, or some of them are not in great positions. Some of them are being owned, or like a good percentage of their brand is owned by the record labels and owned by the system. This is why it's important to end ageism in hip hop. You should be paying attention to podcasts like this. You should be paying attention to others that have their channels that talk about spirituality, because the elders are the ones that's closer to the gods and the elders and the ancestors. So you practicing ageism is a problem. You know what I mean? So, to conclude this episode of The Culture Speaks, episode 6, right? Stop the ageism and bridge the gaps and come together and move this culture forward. All right? So if you like this episode, you can like, share, subscribe on African Man Born Media on YouTube. You can also check this out on Spotify, the audio on Spotify. All right? Look for The Culture Speaks. You can also see the other podcasts, A&B Radio Live. I will be putting random thoughts on the audio as well soon. Not right now. It's just going to be a random podcast, but you will see random thoughts on the audio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of that. So check that out. Also, the website African Man Born is under construction. It will be a totally new looking website by the time it gets relaunched. Hopefully, it'll be on time. It will definitely be on time for the new album, G.O.D. Greatness Over Dominance, which is my 16th official album that's coming out September 9th. All right, September 9th, 2024. 14 tracks, All right. You have the singles, Conspiracy Theorists, God, Greatness Over Dominance. You have Recession. You have I Am Music featuring Genius. You have The Etherian, which was just released on the 26th of June. And then you have kind of a single with the theme song for Random Thoughts. If you watch Random Thoughts, you hear a theme song. The song is actually called Set the Record Straight, featuring the Genius. All right. I produce all 14 tracks. I designed the cover. I put everything together. Mixdowns were done by Genius for most of the songs except for 2. All right. But pretty much this is my third totally constructed album where I wrote, produced, and did everything for the album. You had the King, the King, that dropped 2 years ago, and then you have the what's the name? The Vintage that dropped on November 12th of last year. This year you're getting the God, Greatness Over Dominance. You heard some tracks on there. You heard me perform at least a song from the album at the March 30th show. Also, check out the tour, pretty much an A&B promo tour from July 12th to August 10th. All right, I'll be performing in different spots in Boston and in Mass, really, because I'll be in Fall River on the 12th. On the 20th, I'll be in Salem. And the 21st, I'll be in Roxbury in the daytime, and I'll be in Cambridge at the nighttime. And then after that, I might have the listening party, but I'll solidify that. And then I'll have the actual big show, which is August 10th, celebrating hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Not 50-year celebration, because the real 50-year celebration will be November 12th, and we'll be doing that in November sometime with hip hop beyond this, beyond and beyond. So also check out the show August 10th, which is the big one. So it's about 4 to 5 shows I got on this tour. All right, but also stay tuned to the Culture Speaks. I love everybody that supports what I'm doing with the Culture Speaks. You have any subjects you want me to talk about to tie into hip hop, inbox me on Facebook at African Man Born Music, or TikTok, African Man Born Music. You can also hit me up on Instagram at African_man_born, or you can also hit me up on the email at AfricanManBornProductions@gmail.com. All right. So with that being said, thank you for listening to the Culture Speaks. I will see y'all in the next episode of the Culture Speaks, a true hip hop podcast for those who live it. Peace.